Here's an important topic: how to interact with your mentor, whether you're a postdoc or a PhD student or an undergraduate. And this is a relationship that's really important, especially for a PhD student or for a postdoc. And ideally, it will also not just last for your period of time in the lab, it will ideally last forever. I mean, I'm still in contact with my PhD supervisor because you get sort of a lifetime friendship with these people ideally. But at the same time, this is complicated because, you're dealing with two people with their various personality. There's your personality, there's their personality, and you need to figure out how this interaction works. So here's some pointers. So first of all, this is a learning experience and every person is different. It was the same with me, with my supervisor, with whom I had a very good relationship. At the same time, it took me to figure out what he means when he talks to me. Every time we met, he gave me a new set of ideas for what I could do during my PhD, and every time I thought, ooh, this is my topic, this is what he wants me to work on. Then I did the literature research and thought about it and wrote a little proposal. The next time I saw him, he gave me another idea. So that was in the beginning. The beginning was a little bit frustrating. In the end, all it took for me to understand was like every time he sees me, he's just sharing with me what he's currently excited about in the hopes that I'll be excited about it. But that took quite a bit of time to learn. So this is just an illustration of the very many dimensions to this relationship with your advisor, and it's important to figure out what they mean when they say things. Now, ideally, all these various aspects of the interaction with your advisor are laid down in writing. This rarely happens, I believe. I mean, I've hardly ever encountered that. I started writing down some things, mostly about how I expect people to communicate with me. And maybe over time there's going to be more detail added to that. So ideally, I think you write these things down as a PI, or you can encourage your PI to write these things down if you're a student or a postdoc. And I think this is actually a very useful thing to do because you avoid some of the misunderstandings that could otherwise happen. And some of those parameters that are really important about this interaction. So how often, for example, does your mentor expect to interact with you? Does that person want to know about every single little thing that you do all the time, and every single little step of a task, or every little result that you get? Or is it rather, and that would describe more me, tell me when you got something, or tell me when you're stuck. And other than that, I'm going to assume this is going to be fine. But everybody is different, and that is, I think, one very important thing to figure out about this interaction. Because if you bombard people with information, it may get tedious pretty soon. At the same time, if that person expects a constant flow of information from you and you don't, it feels like you're leaving them out or you're not keeping them posted enough. So that's why it's important to get this level right. And again, it depends on the various personalities of mentors, and also may depend on the different people. And of course, it depends on the stage that you're in. In the beginning, it may be good to have a lot more feedback, and later on, I think it's probably okay if you go for longer periods of time without this immediate feedback. But again, that is something to discuss. Also, who initiates the conversation? Do you as the mentor initiate the conversation, or is the conversation or the contact usually initiated by your supervisor? So in my case, the contact is typically initiated by the student or the postdoc. So if they want something from me, or they need some input, or they want to share some results, then they contact me. I rarely contact people unless I haven't heard from people in a while, of course, but this is the way it happens. If you want something from me, the door is basically open and you can come to me, but you need to initiate that contact. I rarely initiate that contact, but again, everybody is going to be different this way. So you need to find out which situation applies to you. Another example is when to share progress. Basically just at the end when your manuscript is almost written. I exaggerate, of course, or like every tiny little step that you made some progress on, you want to share that. That is again something to negotiate. Again, it will depend on your stage, it will depend on the personality of your advisor, and a whole lot of other parameters. So again, it's something important to discuss, because otherwise you may overwhelm people and you may get on people's nerves, or people may feel he's not doing anything or he's not sharing anything with me. both are bad. So I think those are just some examples that illustrate this. But this has many dimensions. It's really complicated. I haven't thought this through completely myself, but I think it's really important to realize that this is an important relationship to cultivate and to learn about, and then to act accordingly. And when in doubt, always ask.